Jaya, co-president of the Wilmette League. I'd like to thank our Voter Services co-chairs, Trish Nealon and Ann Sullivan, for their tremendous effort in organizing this forum today. The League of Women Voters is nonpartisan. It does not endorse candidates or parties. Our mission is to ensure that all eligible voters have the opportunity and information to exercise their right to vote. Civil public discourse is an integral part of our political system. Public discussion strengthens our democratic process, so we thank the candidates and the audience for participating today. The format and rules for this forum were previously agreed to by the candidates, have been posted outside, and are available in the handout. The forum is being filmed and will appear live on Wilmette's Government Access channel. It will also be available on the Village of Wilmette's website, and the League will carry a link to the program on our website as well. Also on the League's website is our 2019 election guide, where you can find a lot of information about the candidates, including a downloadable version of the voter guide. Please also remember to come back at 12:30 today right here for an information meet and greet with this year's candidates for our non-contested elections, District 39 and District 203 School Board and the Wilmette Public Library. Our moderator today is Jan Dorner from the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst. She also currently serves on the State League of Women Voters. Per League guidelines, Jan does not reside in Wilmette. Jan?
Thank you. Welcome to the candidate forum put on by the League of Women Voters of Wilmette. As you heard, I'm Jan Dorner, and I live in Elmhurst. At this time, I would ask that you please turn off cell phones and other electronic devices. I would also ask that you refrain from applauding or in any other way demonstrating support or opposition of a candidate. No campaign literature may be passed out in this room. Note cards and pencils have been provided on which to submit your questions. Questions will be screened only for duplication, clarity, and appropriateness to the Office of Village Trustee. Please signal a League volunteer when your question is ready for submission. Also signal a volunteer if additional note cards are needed. This forum is for those seeking to be a board trustee for the Village of Wilmette. The candidates have agreed to abide by the rules set forth prior to this forum. Candidate Axelrod and Barrow are running for 1 2-year term. Candidates Feinstein, Kennedy, Plunkett, Sullivan, and Peloton are running to be one of the 3 seats voted for a 4-year term. Note that Ryrie Peloton is not participating this morning. Each candidate will present a 2-minute introductory statement, the order determined right before this by drawing numbers. Then questions obtained from the floor will be asked, and each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond in alternating order. Closing statements in reverse order of the introductory statements will be 1 minute. LWV members will keep time, and candidates will strictly adhere to the time limits. Candidates, please notice the timers. Please join me. When you see the stop sign, you may finish your sentence. Thank you. So let's start with Jeff Axelrod.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeff Axelrod. I'm running for the 2-year seat for Wilmette's Village Board, and I'm a community organizer with proven results. I'd like to thank everyone in attendance taking time out of their busy weekend and the League for hosting this informative event. It's important to all of us that our village board reflect the values of our community. I care about intergovernmental cooperation between our village board, our library board, our park board, and our school board. There's room for improvement, and I'm eager to build better bridges. Our process for commissions is broken. Commissions are an important part of our village government, where volunteers dedicate time to share expert recommendations to our board. There are commissions that haven't met for years despite a clear mandate. There are unfilled seats. There are active commissioners with long expired terms. I'm committed to fixing this process. Now, I don't have to tell you that our roads are a mess. As one of the most prosperous communities in the nation, we know we can do better. I want us to be able to bike or walk from one end of town to the other without risking life or limb. And I want to hear from you. What do you need from village government? I'm here to meet with you now and always. Thank you very much.
Senator Plunkett, please, your opening statement.
Good morning. I'm Senta Plunkett. I've been enjoying living in Wilmette for the last 15 years with my husband, Andy, and raising our 3 children. I'm an attorney by profession. So very briefly on my background, I'm on the village board. Before that, I was chair of the Historic Preservation Commission, and I was also on the board of police and fire commissioners. We've been really busy on the board, and I'm proud of some initiatives that I led. I sponsored the ordinance to raise the age to buy cigarettes and vaping products in Wilmette to 21 from 18. I helped bring the Greenest Regions Compact to Wilmette after attending the North American Climate Summit, and I was also the catalyst for the Rain Ready Wilmette, and I think many of you saw that at Go Green, which is just fabulous. The board has done a lot over the past few years, too. We implemented we approved a stormwater plan, which we are excited to see implemented, and that will protect 98% of homes west of Ridge Road, and was still the most cost-effective plan that we chose from. We significantly increased funding to our road program by 1/3. We wanted to gradually improve the roads over time without large spikes to the tax levy. I'm on the Finance Committee, and we are reviewing pensions right now. We just made a recommendation, and I think that will be a model for other communities to follow in terms of our pension funding. Throughout this all, we carefully managed the budget. The financial position of the village is the strongest in years, and we had the lowest tax levy increase in the last 22 years. I'm really looking forward to the future. There are many challenges ahead, but there are many exciting projects, our streetscape project, our bike project, and a stormwater utility. So I would say, please join me, and this village is really greater than ever, and I'm excited to be part of it.
Thank you. Peter Barrow.
Good morning. I'm Peter Barrow. My thanks to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum, and all the folks that signed my petitions and helped me get here. It's nice to look out and see so many friends. I'm running for village trustee because I am indeed fortunate to have lived in Wilmette for over 35 years. We've raised our 3 children in Wilmette, all attended the Wilmette schools in New Trier. Our youngest is a special ed teacher at Ramona, and 3 of our grandchildren live in Wilmette. I know our town, and I share our common goals: keep our village safe, more affordable, desirable, and a thriving place to work, live, and raise a family. My service on behalf of the village is long and deep. 8 years on our Transportation Commission, currently 8 years on the Plan Commission, currently 2 on Transportation. I've worked with boards and all levels of the village staff constructively and respectfully to get results. There's much to like in Wilmette today. We have challenges for sure, but those are also opportunities. We don't elect our trustees by district or geography, and if elected, I'll be independent, serving the interests of the village as a whole. I don't come with a social agenda, but with an open mind, looking for common sense solutions. Economic development is essential, not only to the quality of our life, but also to keeping taxes and fees as affordable as we can. My background of decades of community service, along with a career practicing finance law, give me the experience and training to serve our village. Thank you.
Dan Sullivan, your opening statement, please.
Good morning. Thank you all for attending this morning, as well as watching on TV. I especially want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event, but also teaching me and educating me on what it means to be a trustee. And by that, 4 years ago when I became a trustee, about a week after the League reached out to me with a few other leaders and said, we want to talk to you about coal tar. I had no idea what coal tar was, but they educated us and they wanted to ban it because it has some damaging effects to all of us. We went through a process, and we engaged our environmental commission, and we got educated. We became much smarter, and a year later, The village board and I unanimously approved a ban on coal tar, which makes it all healthier for us. That was just one example of what we've accomplished over the last 4 years. We have started a stormwater improvement plan. We've increased our affordable housing. We've made much-needed water improvements to our water plant. We are starting a defined sustainability plan. We've done a very in-depth education on minimum wage and sick leave. We've also attracted new residents and commercial development, which is critical to us, all while reducing our tax levy to its lowest level. We have balanced our budget, and we continue to maintain our AAA rating. We're not done, though. Wilmette is so well positioned, but now we want to take on these projects. We want to install that stormwater retention plan. We want to continue to attract new businesses. We want to make the infrastructure and road improvements that we all need and come to expect. We need a new police station. We want to further, develop and improve our relationships with the other governments, from the park board, school board, and library, and also address the pension issue, which we do have a plan coming up, and I think that is affordable. Wilmette, as I said, is very well positioned. I look forward to maintaining that financial prudence that you all come to expect so that we can continue to maintain this affordable, diverse, and inclusive community. I appreciate the opportunity to be a trustee and look forward to volunteering for another 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we continue, I'd like to remind all candidates to please speak into the microphone so everybody in the back can hear you as well. Next is Joel Feinstein.
Thank you. My name is Joel Feinstein, and I've been living in Wilmette for 20 years with my wife and 3 children. I'm running for one of the 3 open positions for village trustee. You should vote for me because I have progressive views which coincide with the majority of Wilmette residents, and because I'm a practicing civil engineer. Although many civil engineers refrain from running for public office, our involvement often provides great value to municipalities. I'm a proponent of a range of public safety issues, from transportation to firearm awareness. I strongly support sensitivity to LGBTQ issues. I back local businesses, and I'm knowledgeable about infrastructure, from stormwater management to our failing roadways. I'm excited about the possibility of taking my involvement with Wilmette to a new level. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. Please vote for me, Joel I. Feinstein, number 1 on the ballot. And you can visit me on the web for more information. And if you'd be kind enough to display one of my yard signs, you can find me at jif.jfine.net or on Facebook at Feinstein for Trustee. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gina Kennedy.
First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum, and to everybody here for coming. The League has been educating voters for 99 years in Chicago, which is very, very impressive. And their work has never been more important than it is today. I haven't lived in Wilmette 100 years, but I have been here for about 32. I'm running for the Board of Trustees now because I love our town and I want to give back to it, and I believe I have the necessary skills to do that. Our village has generally managed its finances well, but it faces real challenges today. We've suffered a significant drop in operating revenue at a time when our revenue needs are rising. We have deferred pension liabilities, many streets and other infrastructure badly in need of repair, and village staffing is at its lowest level in decades. Further cuts to staffing would only erode vital services. I don't believe anyone has a ready, foolproof solution to this conundrum. However, I've had over 20 years professional experience as a lawyer with Sidley and Austin, much of that in the area of public finance. A demonstrated willingness to work hard, a pragmatic approach to problem solving, a dedication to listening to all members of our community, a commitment to cooperation, and all of these, I believe, are essential to good governance. I place great value on respectful give and take and open-mindedness. I'm passionate about many issues, but I don't believe in belittling those who disagree or attempting to drown out contrary opinions. I feel that compromise and collaboration are essential to accommodate the legitimate concerns of others and the limitations of our resources. We can and should make Wilmette more livable, sustainable, safe, and environmentally responsible. We can do more to encourage the development of affordable housing. We can make our village safer for bicyclists and pedestrians. We can commit to environmentally sensitive projects and practices, and we should provide incentives to homeowners to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Our first question, we will start with Senta Plunkett. Give us your thoughts on village commissions currently. Are they effective? Should any be consolidated, eliminated, or added? Are there any which should be re-energized? For example, the Housing Commission is underutilized.
Okay. I think everyone knows that village commissions rely on talented and dedicated volunteers from the community, and they're very hardworking people. So for one thing, they're not getting paid, and the board's not getting paid. I do think that many of the commissions work so hard. The Zoning Commission is going all the time. The Environmental and Energy Commission, I think the board has recently retasked to become more energized, and they have a huge task on their plate. They're drafting a sustainability plan based on the GRC2. The Housing Commission, most of the tasks of the Housing Commission were in funding the Housing Assistance Program, which is now in Housing Our Own. But I do think that next year, when the village tries to revamp its entire comprehensive plan, that the Housing Commission should have new appointees, because I believe that housing should become a major portion of our comprehensive plan. And then we're not only talking about the housing assistance that Housing Our Own has very successfully done. I think a more comprehensive housing plan will be necessary, and the Housing Commission can be a vital part of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Sullivan.
When my wife and I moved to Wilmette 15 years ago, we bought an old home, about 100 years old, and decided to upgrade that. That was my education in learning about what it takes in our village code. And when I was coming in for my permits, I also submitted a talent bank questionnaire and had an opportunity to join the zoning board. Great experience on the zoning board for 10 years, chaired that for the last 5. It is a very active board and plays commission and plays an important role educating all of our residents who are looking for development. So does the Planning Commission. Transportation Commission. We do have some more that could do some more work. As I mentioned earlier in my statement, our Environmental Commission, as we are addressing our comprehensive plan, it's in our budget next year. We haven't made a new comprehensive plan in 20 years. It's time for us to upgrade that and really take a look, and the Environmental Commission will play a key role. So will the Housing Commission. It does need to play a role. It doesn't need to sit there and allocate funds anymore. It needs to find a way, and we can be active in how we can look to expand our affordable housing in Wilmette. So yes, I think the commissions do play a key role. I think they are very, very, very vital to all of us in Wilmette, but they always can do more, and we always look for welcome volunteers. Please submit those talent bank questionnaires. We would take that.
Thank you. Peter Barrow.
I can speak to service on commissions because I served for 8 years on the Plan Commission, and I'm currently on my 2nd year in our Transportation Commission. All of our commissions really do a really important job, and there's a great deal of work to be done. A lot of issues begin by hearings that are held at the various commissions, and they provide essential services to the board. There are a number of commissions that have vacancies, and we really need to reach out to folks in the community to try to fill them. I expect that the roles of the commissions will only be increasing for all of the things that have been described. I know that the Transportation Commission, on which I serve, is having a mandate to look at a number of very important issues for the village. So I support doing more through the commissions right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Joel Feinstein.
Commissions are very important as a way for the board to collect information. I applied for the Transportation Commission last year and got a thank you note for that from our president, but have not yet been appointed. I think that we really need to have more volunteers, and hopefully more people will apply for those positions and get appointed. I think some of the commissions have not been very active, and it would help if they would be so. Thank you.
Thank you. Gina Kennedy.
Yes, I applaud anybody in the community that volunteers their time to serve on those commissions. I think it's often a thankless job, which is a shame because these people work extremely hard. I think that the development of a talent bank to recruit people to the commissions which are short on members is a good idea. But just applying to the talent bank isn't going to work unless we're actually making appointments out of that talent bank. And I'm not sure that's happening right now. There are at least 2 commissions I know of that haven't met in several years, simply because there's nobody on them and no one's been appointed. So I would hope, as a village trustee, to reinvigorate that process and reinvigorate those committees that have been basically dormant for a few years. If anybody in this room is interested in applying, please do. I'm sure their applications would be welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Axelrod.
So, as I had mentioned in my opening statement, fixing our boards and commissions is a priority for me. I raised this issue to the League of Women Voters and participated in a working group to study the issue. The person who asked the question asked specifically about the Housing Commission. There's one generous volunteer who's the chair, whose term had expired several years ago, I believe, Jane Hornstein. She's fantastic. This is not for lack of applicants to the talent bank questionnaire, although the village could certainly do more to promote that. If there's a problem with if there's a problem with the quality of applicants that are applying, the village could promote it better, and I've encouraged them to do so. As I said, there are a number of commissions with people on seats with expired terms. There are a number that have that have no seated commissioners. Our Transportation Commission, for example, is required by law to meet 6 times a year, and for the past 3 years at least, they've met only twice a year. This is broken. We need to fix it. We need to have a better process for dealing with our boards and commissions.
Thank you. The next question, we will start with Peter Barrow. What is your perspective on bringing new businesses to the village?
Economic development is the cornerstone of my campaign and is critical to our village. The difference between simply a collection of homes and a thriving community is the quality of our business. Support of our local business is absolutely critical for the quality of our lives and for keeping taxes and fees as affordable as possible. I support our local businesses, and I think we need to look for ways to make our village as user-friendly as we can for both residents and businesses, to reach out to new businesses to come into the community, to fill the sales tax that we've lost in the last several years. And this is critical, and it will be an important role for our board. Thank you.
Dan Sullivan.
Yeah. Very much supportive of our businesses. I think it comes to why we are in Wilmette. We don't have big boxes. We have small retailers that are the character of Wilmette, and we want to support them, and we want to continue to attract those types of businesses. They are the spirit of this community. I would say that we need to continue to be flexible and welcoming to let them open their businesses here. We want to make sure that we have an open for business mindset. We want to have them go through our process to establish the business through the village government very seamlessly and easy so they can understand. Don't make that a burden. And I think we've done a great job over the years doing that. We need to continue to advertise. We need to continue to attract people, whether it's residents or guests, to come to Wilmette. We need to let them know how great our businesses are, not just here in Village Center, but throughout the entire community. Wilmette economics, hard to say, but very important to continuing and starting that advertising. That was a volunteer resident that put that together. So I would say we need to do more of that. We need to have some of the great events that we have, like the Music on the Green, the lighting that we've done downtown. It shows that Wilmette is very active and vibrant, and that's critical and helpful to our businesses to have them thrive, and I continue to support them.
Thank you. Joel Feinstein, your perspective?
Thank you. I'm a big supporter of local businesses. I constantly encourage my friends to go out with us to eat in Wilmette. It's a difficult thing because of the Amazon that's getting people to buy things online and being delivered to your houses. We need to be a little bit more imaginative. I'm not quite sure how to do that. The Better Business Bureau set out an email asking us if we had any ideas. One thing I said was maybe we could bring folks from visitors to the Baha'i Center to come over and participate in our downtown area. I think the reconstruction of Central Avenue also will make the downtown area much nicer. It's something that we need to look at. It's going to continue to be a challenge, and it's not an insignificant portion of our budget. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Gina Kennedy?
Yes. I think that this is one of the most difficult issues the village faces right now. To be quite frank, I think that the idea of attracting a lot of brick and mortar retailers is probably not something we can rely on. As Joel mentioned, online shopping has made it very difficult for retailers to compete, and I don't think we're going to be able to fill a lot of the empty spaces with retailers. Currently, the village has been able to attract and help out the restaurants in Wilmette, and they've grown tremendously, which is terrific, and that's brought in some vibrancy to the business district that it lacked for a few years. But it also has its own problems. Restaurants need a great deal more parking than stores do, and that issue hasn't been completely solved as yet. What frustrates me a little is that the village in 2011 hired someone to produce a plan for the village to talk about the development of the business districts, and that's largely sat on the shelf. It would be one of my priorities to revisit that plan, update it to the extent that's necessary, and get professional advice instead of just sort of winging it, which I think is what we're doing right now. But I appreciate the efforts the board has made, and as I said, the restaurant scene is hopping, so that's the best news we've had in years.
Thank you. Jeff Axelrod?
So our business community is thriving. There's certainly room for improvement, but things are good. The economy is shifting towards a more online model, as with Amazon, and we will continue to receive sales tax revenue from online purchases. Things are looking good for Eden's Plaza. It was just reported yesterday that the retail store had been purchased by the same investor as the rest of the shopping center, so that's looking great. We have our upcoming streetscape improvement program for our business district, and I think that will do wonders to bring extra visitors. One important shortcoming, I think, is we are the only community on the North Shore to not be a member of the North Shore Convention and Visitors Bureau. They are a great resource to drive visitors to our town, and I support us joining the North Shore Convention and Visitors Bureau. I also have some creative ideas about addressing some of the vacancies, retail vacancies in our Linden Business District in particular, to encourage building owners to lease out there to good retail tenants and help build our tax base.
Thank you. Senator Plunkett?
Thank you. I think Wilmette in the last few years has shown a commitment to our businesses and to revitalizing our business districts. We have partnered with the Wilmetteonomics campaign, which was run by volunteers, very hardworking volunteers, and as well as the text marketing campaign. We've added music on the green, hanging baskets, lights, and I think coming up, which is so exciting, is that the village engineers secured a $1 million grant for our streetscape project. That is going to be in conjunction with the Central Road reconstruction. That's really going to be exciting. I think in terms of other things that we can do, Mr. Axelrod mentioned the sale of Edens Plaza. Well, that was really because the village board enacted new zoning regulations just recently saying we want that to be retail, and that spurred on that purchase by that developer. So we are looking forward to new retail in the spaces that are vacant right now, and I'm hoping that they can be larger sales tax generators. We need to do a lot more to support our businesses, but I want the businesses to feel that they have a partner in the village, and I think that we have shown that commitment and that we can do more. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will start with Dan Sullivan. What's your plan to fix the roads? Does it involve increased taxes?
Taxing our way to the road improvement is not the only option, and actually we discussed this yesterday at the Finance Committee, because even though we were talking about pensions and the looming responsibility that we have to make sure that we close the gap on that unfunded liability, we have reserves that are available. We are a very well-reserved community. We're about 39% reserved when AAA rating is about 30%. So we do have some funds available, and what we said is we do need to close the gap on pension, but we're not going to give 100% of that to that issue. We're going to make sure that we allocate enough resources to the infrastructure and addressing our roads. Roads are critical. We need to make sure that we continue to maintain them. There are other ways that we can do that. We have become more efficient within the government. That has allowed us to not just raise our taxes. We are very focused on making sure that we maintain that tax levy. We can't just tax our way out of this. So we do need to be creative. Going back to my other answer, we want to drive businesses here. We want to drive guests in here that shop at those businesses and drive sales tax. We want to attract new residents to make upgrades to their home. That drives permit revenue. Those are all things that can help us create and maintain our reserve policy, and those excess funds will go to the infrastructure, which is critical.
Thank you. Joel Feinstein.
So a lot of our road reconstruction has to do with funding from the state. And the state now, luckily, is looking at alternative measures. We haven't increased the motor fuel tax in a very, very long time. One of the things that they're looking at is the possibility of looking at a mileage tax instead of motor fuel tax, and that comes with its own set of technical issues that would be somewhat complicated. But I think that we can rely somewhat hopefully on the state that's going to increase those the funding. We still need to present, I think, about 20%, I'm not sure the exact number, funds from our local budget. And that is going to continue to be an issue. But thank you.
Thank you. Jamie Kennedy?
I think that the roads in the village are an appalling condition, and I think it's gotten to the point where it's actually dangerous for bicyclists, particularly, to be driving on the roads in the condition that they're in. I know there's a big push to put in bike lanes, which I support wholeheartedly, but I don't know how you put bike lanes on streets that are just potholes strewn like our current streets are. I think that it would be nice if we could have retail development that would generate enough additional income to pay for the road improvements that were required. But so much of road maintenance has been deferred that I'm not confident that that's the only way or the best way to address the problem. It really is a shame that they've been allowed to deteriorate to this point, and I think that we may actually have to look at an increase in the tax levy. Our tax levy is actually quite low. Only 12% of your property tax bill goes to the village. And I know that overall taxes are high, but the village share is very low, and I think we can afford to increase that slightly. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Axelrod?
So, again, we live in one of the most prosperous communities in the country. We can do better. In 2016, our village board voted for a new road program, and they had three options. They voted for the middle one, which effectively maintained the current status of our roads, leaving 44% of our roads in less than satisfactory condition. I think we should look to communities like Glenview as a model. They have a 20-year road program where every road is reconstructed and with periodic maintenance in between. I also support developing a website where people can find out exactly when their road is scheduled for maintenance and improvements. Now, the news from the Finance Committee a couple days ago is fantastic. We do have $12.7 million in reserves, and the committee recommended that we use the surplus, a small amount of the surplus each year, for a combination of paying down the pensions and infrastructure. I think that's a great way to help offset increased tax levies.
Thank you. Senator Plunkett.
Thank you. So I was on the board in 2016 when we did make a commitment to increase the budget to our road program by 1/3. And it wasn't to maintain the current condition, which we saw on the graphs was going down if we did not put that influx of cash in. It was to gradually improve our roads over time. But there's definitely more that we can do. We saw in the future that debt service would be peeling off and that there would be an influx more into the road program in the next few years. But I'm on the Finance Committee, and I actually left that meeting with a smile on my face, knowing that the village financial situation is in really good position right now, and we can put extra money toward infrastructure. If you are driving around right now and you hit a pothole, that really isn't reflective of our road program. Everybody is dealing with potholes right now. I think we saw a report that the village has filled 3,900 potholes since the end of February, and village crews have been so busy this year, as have crews from all over the North Shore, Chicago. This has been one of the craziest winters we can imagine. So the potholes will be fixed, and we hopefully will continue supporting our road program. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Barrow.
When I have been out talking to folks as part of this campaign, nothing has been more important than roads. That is the first and the last question that anyone has asked. I live on one of those streets, Kenilworth Avenue in Wilmette. It's absolutely dangerous. So I appreciate every single day the state of our roads. We need to fund them more than we have. The budget in 2019 includes about a little over $4 million for road repair and related engineering. That budget was made before this winter. So I think we need to take a fresh look at the dollars that we've allocated for road repair. Where will that come from? I agree with several folks up here that with the substantial reserves that we have, approximately $12 million, that a portion of that be used. It also may be something for which we need to increase our property tax levy. If it need be, I would support doing so. We don't have a choice. We must fix the condition of our roads, and we need to do it now rather than a few years from now. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to combine two questions here. Please describe the state of affordable housing in Wilmette and address what role the village should play in expanding affordable housing in Wilmette. And we'll start with Joel Feinstein.
So this is actually a complex issue with the affordable housing. Right now, the village, I'm looking at, I think it's 611 Green Bay Road over there, contributed some tens of thousands, maybe $60,000 or $70,000 to a fund to be able to help support folks that can't afford to stay here. Many people who have retired do not have the funds to be able to pay their rent or mortgages, and they can apply through the township, which then sends that on to an organization that can help that was funded by some of these developments. It's really important, I think, to continue that and, in fact, increase the numbers to be able to help people stay in our community that have lived here for a very long time. So I think the board should play a leading role in that issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Gina Kennedy?
Yes. I think that the challenge of affordable housing in Wilmette is significant. We can't build single-family affordable housing in Wilmette because the land values are too high, frankly. When it comes to multiple residential units, that's possible, but we don't have a lot of land available for those projects. I deeply regret that when they built this rental project on Green Bay Road, that it did not include any affordable housing units. The developer did make that payment, but I think actually having the affordable housing units would have been preferable. I do applaud the village's approval of the residents over on Ridge Road, or just off Ridge Road. Though it's not very big, but it does add substantially to the village's affordable housing component. And I hope that if large lots become available again in Wilmette, that the village will take more seriously its obligation to put an affordable housing requirement on the developer of the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Axelrod?
So I'm your affordable housing person. I received the 2018 Gene Cleland Award for my work on affordable housing in Wilmette. There is a group of volunteers that I meet with weekly to talk about what we can do for our community to help make Wilmette more affordable. One of the first things I think we can do is appoint members to the Housing Commission and have it meet and take a look at our 2003 affordable housing plan. It hasn't been updated. The state has requested that we update it, and the village has decided that it's not a priority. I think we need to make it a priority. Our housing assistance program was defunded and privatized several years ago, and I think we need to reevaluate that decision. And most important, I think we need to listen to the residents and see what works for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Plunkett?
Thank you. I think the village has shown a commitment to affordable housing over the last few years. The board approved 7-0 the affordable housing project on Wilmette Avenue, and we spent a lot of time on that, spent a lot of time talking to residents, talking to the community to come up with a plan that we think is going to work for Wilmette. We've also been successful in garnering direct payments from developers, including a recurring payment to Housing Our Own that will be from the Artist Senior Living. I think that direct payments to residents so that they can stay in our community is very important to them, and that has increased both in the amount of assistance and in the number of people that we can assist. And I hope that that's going to increase in the future. I think that privatizing that has actually increased the amount of money in there, but it is still managed by the village. I do think that in the future, that the Housing Commission will need to be reinstated so they can help with the very important program of helping with our comprehensive plan and adding a housing section to our comprehensive plan. We have a goal of trying to have 15% of multifamily development be affordable. Right now we have met that goal, but there are always going to be new projects coming in, we hope, and we will try to implement the village's plan again of trying to make 15% of those affordable, and it might require more density. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Barrow?
The 2004 housing plan that the village currently operates under has a goal of 15% or more of units in development be multifamily. For the reason Gina described, we can't do that in the single-family districts. Land is too expensive. It's really something that can only happen in the commercial districts. Our plan encourages developers to provide affordable housing, but it doesn't mandate that. We don't have absolute mandates. We don't have fees. We don't do it by zoning. And I think that that reflects a desire on the part of our community to have affordable housing, but to have it reflect the realities of our community. Nothing will be built, nothing will be developed in our community if a developer or an investor can't get a return on their investment. So we need to work with our developers to encourage them. Sometimes it's taking a fee, as we did in 611 Green Bay Road. Sometimes it's direct development, as we did with the American Legion development. In any case, it's something to be continued. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Sullivan?
Affordable housing is very important to Wilmette, and under our home rule status, and actually under the leadership of President Jacoby, we put together our plan for Wilmette. We went above and beyond what the state had asked us for, and we have been focused on how do we expand affordable housing. We have Malincroft that went in that has been very well received. We have the development at 611 that is now at least not a vacant piece of land that the village owns, but it's a thriving residential multifamily development that they did give an $80,000 donation. And then very exciting, we approved unanimously the support for HODC to rebuild the American Legion Hall. That will be a success that we all drive by and don't realize what it is because they're part of our community. We need to continue this and continue to make it a priority. We need to look and readdress our comprehensive plan that's in our budget for next year and our plan. That will give us a time to readdress and say, what do we really want to do? Where do we want to take affordable housing and make it a priority and do more with it? We want to look at the Housing Commission and rewrite their guidelines so that they can add value, fill them up, and say, this is how we're going to look to expand. We want to continue to support housing our own, financially, as well as any other volunteers where we can help people move into Wilmette and continue our diverse community and make it so exclusive.
Thank you. Gina Kennedy, you will start with this question. What are your commitments to the environment and sustainability?
I think that there is nothing more important than reducing greenhouse gases. Climate change is real. Science backs that up. We are radically close to the breaking point, after which nothing that we do will make a bit of difference. That said, most of the real work that needs to be done has to be done at an international and national level. At the same time, there are things that the village can do, and in some cases has done. When they built the Public Works facility a few years ago, they did so in compliance with the gold LED standards, which I think is to be applauded. There's now a plan to renovate the extremely old and out-of-date police station that we have here, and I'm hoping that the village will decide to do that in a similar fashion and make it as environmentally sensitive as possible. At the same time, we encourage residents to take steps to be more environmentally responsible in their building practices, but we don't really provide financial incentives. And I think the village could definitely incentivize the use of solar panels, permeable pavement, and other building materials and practices that are more environmentally responsible. Those are not cheap, and so we should reward residents when possible. Thanks.
Thank you. Jeff Axelrod?
So back when our president had backed out of the Paris Accord, I organized members in the community to write to our elected officials and encourage them to, like our neighbors, sign on to voluntary climate agreements. I'm very happy to say that after about a little over a year, our village had signed on to the Greenest Region Compact and one of the mayor's climate agreements. I encouraged the EEC Commission, which was another one of the commissions that had been languishing. And I encouraged the officials to have it meet. It did, and I've been to every EEC meeting since it began again. I'm very excited that we have a new sustainability plan under development with the EEC. I think that's fantastic. I go to regularly go to Go Green meetings, Go Green Wilmette and Go Green Illinois. I think that's a fantastic resource in our village. I also support the upcoming change in financing for our sewer fee. Right now, we pay based on the amount of water that we use, not proportional to the permeable surfaces in our, so if we have a big concrete patio in our backyard, that's sending water to the sewers, and we're not paying for that. So the new plan is going to use GIS information to measure how much we're sending to the sewers. Thank you.
Senator Plunkett.
Thank you. So if you've been following me at all on the village board, you know that I think I've done a lot to promote environmental initiatives in our town. I helped bring the GRC to Wilmette. And after attending the North American Climate Summit with another trustee, Julie Wolf, we came back with a lot of new ideas, and we were really excited. We met with staff and decided that the EEC would be a great organization, would be a great committee to try to draft a plan. And so I'm looking forward to collaborating with them on a sustainability plan. I thought that a cost-sharing plan for green landscaping, just like we do the cost-sharing plan for planting a tree in the parkway, would be a great idea. And now that's turned into Rain Ready Wilmette, and I think a lot of folks are excited about that. I've pushed for composting, and composting is coming in like a couple weeks. I can't believe it. I've also pushed for green infrastructure as a part of our stormwater plan, and we are looking for that as we go along and we implement the stormwater plan. I'm really looking forward to a sustainability plan that will weave sustainability into all of our operations of village government, including solar. We're looking for Soul Smart designation right now. So I think the village has embraced environmental initiatives, and I want to carry that momentum on for the next 4 years.
Thank you. Peter Barrow.
If you attended the Go Green event last weekend, you know how important green initiatives are to our residents. Our board's joining the Greenest Regional Compact is a statement of our commitment to maintaining and improving the sustainability of our community. We've already started some of that. As Senda has mentioned, composting is around the corner. Rain and water conservation have been started. I think we need to increase our efforts and focus on where we can apply solar, perhaps recharging stations for electric cars downtown would be beneficial. I think the village should also consider a sustainability coordinator as for someone that can focus our efforts and our initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Sullivan.
Well, there's two compliments I want to pay. First is to Trustee Plunkett and Trustee Wolf, because there's not a board meeting that we go through and approve something where they don't say, you know what, have you thought about this in ways that we can improve the environment? So it shows good collaboration, and I am better for their advice and direction, so I appreciate that. Same thing on Go Green. I had an opportunity to go to Michigan Shores last weekend, and what a terrific event. What an eye-opening event to see all of the vendors and education on what we're doing and how important it is to Wilmette residents. We are going to continue to make a plan here. We have to, the sustainability plan that we've talked about, the Greenest Region Compact 2, the Climate for Mayors, we are all participating. And again, I think that is really driven by Go Green, making this a priority for all of us. As we talked about composting, but I think the best example of where we're making headway was in the communicator last week. My wife truly enjoyed it because it's been one of her frustrations is we don't know how to recycle. Well, you look at the communicator, it tells you what can go in those bins and how we can do better. Now, Wilmette does a good job recycling, but we can still do better, and I think that, you know, you're just educating everybody on what is recyclable versus throwing in anything in those toters is important. So I think the more we continue to talk about this, the more we will be a leader in of our community, showing people this is how you should be sustainable. Thank you.
Thanks. Joel Feinstein.
So I'm also very proud that the Village of Wilmette has signed on to the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus for the Greenest Region Compact, the GRC2. This is an environmental sustainability blueprint for Chicago region communities. There are 49 goals broken into 10 categories. I think we may, part of the problem is that historically a lot of people, I think, don't believe that in global warming. Wilmette used to have, for example, a village sticker discount for low-emission, high-mileage cars. However, that was discontinued because it discriminated against other car owners. I think that part of the GRC2 is also to educate the residents that these are real issues, and I applaud those that brought that to the village. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Axelrod, what opportunities do you see for the village to improve gun safety?
So gun safety is another one of my many passions. So about, it was July of last year, Northbrook passed several common sense gun safety ordinances, and some community members and I worked to try to encourage the village to use some of the ordinances that Northbrook had passed, as well as changed policy. For example, Northbrook was the first community in Cook County to agree to enforce the existing assault weapons ban. I successfully encouraged Wilmette to be the second, and they announced at the Public Safety Committee meeting a few weeks ago that they are going to do so as well, and I'm very proud of that. One of the other solutions is Northbrook had banned concealed handguns in any place that served liquor. I encouraged Wilmette to do the same. It became law in July of last year, and Northbrook has not been challenged, and so it looks to be a safe ordinance and common sense. I also really want to hear from the community ideas. I think our police force and fire department could benefit from revitalizing the community volunteer corps. Thank you.
Senator Plunkett.
Thank you. So as a parent, and I know probably most of you are, gun safety is something that is always on the back of our minds, and we just hope and pray that our children are safe when they go to school. Trustee Kurzman started the discussion, and I'm on the Public Safety Committee, and I think we had a very good meeting of public safety, and I think in discussing with our police chief, Kyle Murphy, it was great to find out all the programs that Wilmette does have currently, and I think that having those programs listed in the paper and advertised more is going to do a good job to tell the community, hey, we do some things if you want to store your weapon, if you want your weapon disposed of. We are currently looking at regulation to see what Northbrook is doing right now. It's not a regulation on gun owners. It's actually a liquor license regulation on liquor license holders for that. So we will be reviewing that. I think legally there are many challenges to certain gun safety regulations, but community engagement will never be challenged. So I think that the community is the most important factor in this. Thank you.
Peter Barrow.
I think everyone in our community supports gun safety, is concerned about it. I met with our police chief a few weeks ago to learn more about the initiatives, and the village does have several programs through the police department, and I think they need to be publicized more so that people do understand that the police are ready and to assist anyone that needs to, as the Senator says, transport a weapon or destroy a weapon. And I can tell you that the Chief of Police is very much aware of the community, the community's interest in this. This is something that we need to always be concerned about. The idea of having weapons in places that serve alcoholic beverages seems to me a terrible thing, and that we ought to do all that we can within the limits of the law to not have weapons where alcohol is served. Thank you.
Dan Sullivan.
And I would agree with Peter. Unfortunately, guns continue to be a topic, and it's the world that we're living in where we're seeing more violent crimes with guns. Even here in Wilmette, we want to make sure that we address those, and we're starting to have some discussion about that. Even though our police department, which is so well-staffed and under great leadership under Kyle Murphy, but we need to get the message out. What are the programs that we offer? I bet a lot of residents don't know about those, so we need to make sure that we as a village board, we as the village staff, also educate everybody. How do we get the word out for our kids, as well as all of us as adults? It's nice that we also partner with the police department, but our public safety committee this is obviously an issue for us on the board, and it's raising some discussions that hopefully will come to the board with some ideas of where we can make some improvements. See what works in other communities. See how we can continue to build Wilmette as a safe environment for all of us, because that's why we live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Feinstein.
Thank you. Gun safety it's an issue that just makes my heart broil and wants to make me cry with even in areas that don't have many guns, like what happened recently in New Zealand and other places around the world, but especially in this country. I think this is a national issue. It's a state issue, and it just tears me apart. And I'm in support of anything we can do on a local level to help residents be safe and keep their guns safe. And I think we're right. We need to publicize these things, whatever we do to the community. Thank you.
Gina Kennedy.
Peter Barrow and I were both in Wilmette when Lori Dan walked into a grade school in Winnetka, killing one child and seriously wounding 4 or 5 others. That was one of the scariest days of my life. I had a small child, just like Peter at the time. There were no cell phones. There was no cable news at the time. And all we could do was hope it wasn't our own child's school. So I've thought about gun safety my entire adult life since that incident. And unfortunately, a lot more has to be done at the state and at the national level, because it doesn't do very much for us to pass the most stringent restriction on assault weapons if you could just go to Indiana and buy one. There are things we can do, though, and I second the suggestions and the idea of banning guns in places that serve alcohol. I don't know who thinks that's a good idea. What a lethal combination. There's no reason that we can't do that, I believe. And I really thought that the presentation of the police department at that public safety meeting was inspiring. We do, as others up here have said, need to get the word out to the community. But can we solve the problem? No.
Thank you. We're approaching the end of our time for this forum, so we're going to move to closing statements, and we're going to do reverse of what we did for openings. So we're going to start with Gina Kennedy.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody for coming again. I'm very impressed by the involvement of the community in this forum and their willingness to listen to the candidates drone on and on. I have loved Wilmette. I've been proud of Wilmette my whole life, but I really believe we can do better. The status quo right now is okay, but we don't need to settle for okay. I think we can do much more to make the community more livable, more comfortable, more affordable. I think we can improve the roads. We have to do that, like someone else said up here. It's the #1 issue I hear about when I'm walking around and talking to people on the street. I think it's reached the point where people look at the community and feel that things, and it's in the current state that we're in, are just not acceptable going forward, and we'll need to accelerate our program. Thank you.
Joel Feinstein.
So as a civil engineer, I feel like I can complement the skill set of the current board, which includes many lawyers and finance professionals. I can provide technical understanding of infrastructure, traffic, public water supply, stormwater, and other utilities. A range of perspective and skills will lead to stronger decisions for our village. I also believe that the majority of village residents have expressed their progressive values in the search for solutions to a number of community challenges. And I believe that I would be representing those values on the board while maintaining fiscal responsibility. I've also had some board experience at the Illinois Society of Professional Engineers, the Chicago chapter. I've been on that board for a long time. I recently stepped down as the treasurer of that organization, but I'm still active on the board. Thank you.
Dan Sullivan.
I was fortunate that my grandparents moved here in 1958 and raised their 7 kids, and was visiting here in the early 70s when the AMP was over there, 31 Flavors, and going to Wilmette Theater. That was my introduction to Wilmette. My wife and I moved here 15 years ago and have raised 2 boys. Serving as a trustee, serving on the zoning board has been a way to give back, and I truly enjoy it, and I appreciate that. I love Wilmette. I think it is such a wonderful community, and I'm so proud that my boys are seeing this, because they're seeing that anybody can live here. It is a very diverse and inclusive community. It's affordable. We should continue that. It's a safe place, and that's what I would look to bring to the table as a trustee for another 4 years, is to contain this quality of life that we've all come to enjoy. I'll make sure that we continue to attract new residents, business owners, and visitors. We want this vibrant. We want to share this special place that we all live in, and I appreciate and look forward to hopefully serving for another 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Barrow.
Elections are about choices. They are a statement about who we are and who we think will best lead our village. My vision for Wilmette is that of a thriving community with strong commercial development, making our town a great place to live and work. How we maintain that character is the challenge of today. It's the role of our government and the job of our trustees. Experience, commitment, and humility are a must. I've lived in our village for decades. 2 generations of our children live nearby. My law practice as a finance partner has a plus in my experience. The choice for the 2-year seat is clear. I'm Peter Barrow, and I ask for your vote March 18th to April 1st, or on Election Day, April 2nd. Thank you.
Santa Plunkett.
Thank you. So if you followed the village board over the last few years, or if you have had the occasion to meet with me for coffee to discuss something that's important with you, I think you realize that I take a balanced approach, that I'm willing to listen, that I will start from scratch on an issue and learn everything I can, that I'm independent, and that I try my best in each situation to make a really good decision. I think that's one of the most important things that I can bring to the village. I will listen to the issues, I will study the issues, and I will listen to you. I have learned a lot these past 4 years. It's been challenging and rewarding and everything in between. But I think the experience that I've had will make me an even better trustee. So I think I'm pretty good at it, and I hope to be better. Thank you.
Jeff Axelrod.
Clearly, I'm not a refined politician, but what I lack in shiny polish, I make up for in passion, research, and hard work. We need a village board that listens to and reflects the values of our residents. I will bring that. I care about a lot of issues important to our community. I care about all of Wilmette, east and west. I care about our environment, walking, biking, and reliable roads. I care about ethics and good governance. I have a proven track record of successful community organizing. I'm excited to serve our village as trustee, and I humbly ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Your participation as a candidate and as voters are essential to preserving our freedom and our government. Please remember to vote on or before April 2nd, as one vote can decide the election, and that one vote could be yours. Please join me in showing your appreciation for these candidates.